Meta has launched its backend development course. In one of our last video, we talked about Meta's front-end course, which was very good. But in this video, we are going to talk about Meta's backend course. This backend course is usually focused on Python and Django, and it also covers the full stack development as well. So this is the homepage of Meta's backend developer professional practice. Here the schedule is flexible, it is beginner friendly, and it says it takes approximately 8 months, but since this is a self-paced course, you can learn it in your own pace. Now there are 9 courses in this particular course. First one is Intro to Backend Development, second one is Programming with Python, third is Version Control, fourth is Database for Backend Framework, fifth is Django Web Framework, sixth is APIs, seventh is Full Stack, 8 is Backend Developer Capstones, and finally 9th one is Coding Preparation. Let's first look into the first course, which is Introduction to Backend Development, and let's now look into its syllabus. So regarding the syllabus, in the week 1 it gets started with web development. You can look into the videos here: front end, back end, how internet works, how website works, HTTP, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, API services. It is right from the scratch. And in the week 2 it starts with HTML and CSS, and on the week 3 it moves towards the UI framework. Even though if you don't have any knowledge with front end, it gives basic knowledge of HTML, CSS as well as the UI frameworks as well. So this is very good. So working with libraries, responsive designs, bootstrap, what is React, how React works, and some reading materials are here. And on the last week, as in every Coursera course, you will have a graded assignment where you have some reading and some practical exercises. Moving on to the second course, it is Programming with Python. In week 1 we get started with Python, basic of Python, why Python, variables, basic data types, strings, typecasting, user input, switch, looping. So basics of programming, we can say. Then it moves to the basic programming in Python. It includes stuff like functions, variable scope, lists, tuples, quarks, and etc. You have some exercises here as well. And on the week 3 we move towards the programming paradigms. So it includes what is procedural programming, what is functional programming, recursion, map, filter, object oriented programming, classes, instances, parent classes, child classes, abstract classes, and some reading materials and some exercises as well. And lastly, on the week 4 it includes stuff regarding modules, package, and libraries. What is module, SSS module, import statement, and you will be creating your own module, importing them. And then it covers regarding machine learning and deep learning and AI as well. It covers some of the Python frameworks, testing, and it covers topics like TDD, test driven development, how you apply them. And as other course, there are some reading and exercises. And finally there is one more course, end of grade assessment, where we will be given couple of videos, couple of reading assignment, and finally one graded assignment. Moving on to the third course, it covers regarding version control. So version control Git is very important for a developer or a developer student. So in the syllabus, on week 1 it covers about introduction to course, collaboration, what is version control, history. And on the week 2 it covers about command line, Unix command, bash on Windows, change directory, list contents, pipes, redirection, grep. So as a developer, it is very important to know about the basics of command line, how Git and Unix command work on the CLI. And finally on the week 3 you will be deep diving into the Git. It teaches you about Git, GitHub, how Git works, branches, remote versus local, push versus pull, head, diff, blame, etc. And you have some reading and exercises. And finally, on the last week, you will be having a graded assignment where there are a couple of videos and 3 reading assignment, and finally a graded assignment as well. Moving on to the next course, it is Introduction to Database for Backend Development. So let's now look into its syllabus. First week is dedicated to Introduction to Database. So what is database, how is data related, alternative types of database, SQL, advantages of SQL, what are tables, what are keys, and there are some reading and practice assignment. And on week 2 you will be learning about CRUD, create, read, update and delete, and you will be learning about data types in SQL, numeric data type, string data type, default values, creating a table, alternating a table, insert, select, updating, deleting, etc. And finally on the week 4 you will be learning operators in C. And finally on week 3 you will be learning about SQL operator, SQL operators in use, comparison operators, operator order by, where, select distinct clause, and some reading and practice assignment. And finally on the last section, it covers about database design as well, database schema in use, types of database, table relationship, primary key, foreign key, normalization up to 3NF, and that is very much enough for a normal developer. And there are some reading and practice assignment as well. And on the final section you will have a graded assignment. So this particular database course is very important for a backend developer, because as a backend developer it is very important to have knowledge of database, and it is very good to have basic knowledge of SQL, simple CRUD operation, and some sorting and filtering as well. So this one particular course is very important in this whole 9 courses. And moving on to next courses, it now covers about Django web framework. Let's look into its syllabus. So in the first week it introduces about Django, what is Django, projects and creating a Django app, what is web framework, what is MVT, model view template, and model summary. And on week 2 it covers about views, how to create views, mapping URLs, HTTP requests, understanding URLs, regular expression, error handling, class-based view, and a summary. And similarly on week 3 it covers about models, so how to create a model for the database, how to perform migration, history of changes, models using foreign key, and you will be using ORN, object relational mapper, to perform database operations via Python code. And you will be also learning about form, how to create a form, Django admin, permission, user and permission, database options, and finally summary. And on week 4 you will be learning about templates, how to create a template, working with template, dynamic template, modeling object instance to the template inheritance, working with template inheritance, debugging and testing as well. And on the final week you will be having a course summary and graded assessment as well. So this particular course covers all the basics you need to know about Django. So if you want to learn Django, this course is very important for you. And up on the next course we have APIs, application peripheral interface. And in this course, first is it covers about REST API, introduction to course, how are API used in the real world, RESTfulness, naming convention, security and authentication, access control, book list API, organizing APIs, debugging your API. And on the week 2 it covers about Django REST framework. So if you want to be a good Django developer, you must also learn about Django REST framework. So this particular week is very important for you. It introduces to DRF, Django REST framework, better API with decorators, functions, Django toolbar, serializer, model serializer, relationship serializers, deserialization and validation, renderers, and model summary. And on week 3 it covers about advanced API, filtering, searching, ordering, pagination, caching, and token-based authentication as well. User role, setting of the throttling, registration and authentication. And finally, on the last week, you will be developing a final project which will be assessed by Coursera. And on the next course, we have full stack. So let's now look into its syllabus. Now week 1 is dedicated to introduction to full stack. What is full stack development, entire architecture, model summary, and here are some reading materials and some exercises as well. And it covers about front-end technologies, HTML, CSS, CSS grid, pseudo classes, and some JavaScript basics. And on week 3 it covers about full stack using Django, how you can develop full stack app just using Django. So here are some recap regarding Django API, database, MySQL, and configuring Django to connect to MySQL, and fetching data using JavaScript. And here are some reading materials and some production environment. How can you set up the production environment, cloud computing, scaling, balancing, and stuff. And finally, on the last week, you will be building your own project. And moving on to second last course, which is Backend Developer Capstone. In this course, you will be particularly working on one particular project. So week 1 you will be starting the project. On week 2 you will be working on the project functionality, and on the third week you will be working on security and testing, making sure that your app is secure, performing some testing. And finally, on the last week you will be have project assessment, whether it fulfills all the requirement of the project or not. And finally, on the last course, now that you have learned about Django, some of the front end stuff, and after that if you have developed some projects, now you can start applying for the job. So for that particular case, you need to prepare for the coding interview. So for that particular reason, this particular course becomes handy. So in this course, it covers about introduction to coding interview, how you can communicate, what is a technical interview, what are the basic things you need to know in a technical interview, for example binary, memory, time and space complexity. And it covers basics of data structures like list, state, stack, queues, trees, hash tables, heaps, graphs. And on the week 3 it covers about introduction to algorithms, sorting algorithm, searching algorithm, divide and conquer, recursion, dynamic programming, greedy algorithm, and some reading and practice assessment as well. And on the final section, you will be working on one particular project. So if you are planning to apply for any particular job, it's never a bad idea to have basics of data structures, algorithms. It will help you on your job interview. So this was the video about Meta's backend course. This is a very good video for those who want to learn Python and move towards Django and become backend developer. So thank you for watching the video till the end.